Some lists take a long time to make simply because of other projects or because of a little bit of fear, but Fiction from over at the CKN Patreon page is here to ensure that I make good on a promise. Back in January, I did a list of my top 10 favorite heavy metal male vocalists, and here we are during 24 hours of CKN talking about my top 10 favorite female heavy metal vocalists. This one was a bit of a strain to actually think about, considering you see so many and hear so many male vocalists in the heavy metal department. There are a lot of lovely ladies that are contributing also, and sometimes they don't get as much credit as they deserve. Now, some of the picks on this list may seem extremely, apropos, either that or par for the course, but remember that this is a personal list. This is not a be-all, end-all. If you have a different list, please post it in the comments below. So, let's have a little bit of fun and start with number 10. Number 10 is Synne Soprana Larsen, which was from In the Woods. Now, I would love to say and report that Synne is higher on the list, but unfortunately her only body of work happens to be one of my favorite albums of the 1990s, and that's Omnio from In the Woods. She's responsible for the absolutely orgasmic female vocals that you hear all throughout this album. It's something that honestly gives this album the feel that it does, and it couples very nicely with the male vocals that you hear alongside of it. In the Woods was a band that was based around Reincarnation until the court left to be a part of Emperor, so this band sort of happened almost by mistake. Then what we actually got was some membership changes and additions for Omnio to create a different atmosphere, which is where Synne really joined the fold, and at not even 20 years old belted out the fantastic vocals that you hear on this disc. It's sad that this is sort of where the journey ended, but man, it made enough of a lasting impact that I will never forget those female vocals had to be on the list. Number 9, we have Simone Simons from Epica. Someone has been clamoring that I talk about Epica in a review, and the fair thing is that I've listened to Epica before quite a bit, and this is a spin-off band. One member of After Forever decided to part ways due to creative differences, started a brand new band. That band became Epica, and Simone Simons, the ravishing and beautiful Simone Simons, was to become the vocalist of that group, and got most of her start by listening to Oceanborn from Nightwish, which she still claims to be her favorite Nightwish album. And her voice certainly is one that matches a little bit in the fact that she sort of took vocalization a little bit differently, and Epica, with all of its bombastic glory, with all of its craziness and progressive moments, her voice just fits so very well. New album coming out in 2016. I'm going to just confirm it right now in video. CKN 24-hour exclusive. We're reviewing that album later on, and we're going to talk about Simone a little bit more in detail whenever that happens. Number 8, we have Sarah Jezebel Deva, of course, of Cradle of Filth fame, Therion, the Covenant, and also her own project, Angtoria. Now, while Angtoria was a horrible, horrible mistake in my opinion, their first album was one of the biggest disappointments of the year of its release, and considering I also think that Sarah is a bit of a bitch, but that's more of just a personal opinion, you really can't, deny the work that she actually does put in, not to mention what her voice is able to accomplish. Imagine having somebody else handling those vocals on some of Cradle of Filth's middle career albums. I know that they have brand new female vocals now that are actually quite good. There we have to see where that's going to go, but as of, I'm talking albums such as Midian, I'm talking albums such as Bittersweets to Succubi, I'm talking albums from that latter 90s, first part of the 2000s approach. Imagine somebody aside from Sarah handling those vocals, and you have a very different sound overall to where a lot of those tracks go, and really, it doesn't have the same effect, or at least not within your mind. So Sarah was not only the right woman for the job, but she handled it very, very well. Number 7, Doro Pesch, the metal queen, or the queen of metal, whichever you wish to really bestow the name upon her. She's been going at it strong for as long as Metallica has been a band, or as long as various other heavy metal greats and giants have been together. She is considered to be really the godmother, I guess. Godfather is the wrong term, but great movie series. Of really the female vocal, along with a couple of others. God damn, though, Doro's voice is one that feels ageless. If you listen to performances that have happened recently in Doro's career, there doesn't seem like there's any sort of deterioration. Now, some people may claim that Doro is one that bridges a little bit closer to that hard rock gap. Shut the fuck up. Doro's amazing. Check her out and give her her fair share. Not everybody has to growl or sound like they're in the middle of an opera in order to be on this list. That's just the reality of it. And to prove that, number 6 we have Nurmi, which is from Lacrimosa. This is a gothic metal project. This is sort of an underknown project, one that needs a little bit more attention. I remember first discovering this group with their album, I believe it was Echoes from 2003-ish, and was just blown away at this combination of gothic metal that also mixed with sort of neoclassical or just classical music, sort of like what Ellen did, but then you have the just beautiful vocals of Anne in the background that are really captivating and drawing this story through. And that's kind of where the whole thing comes together. Anne is one of these constant vocalists that is able to harbor great comparison points to groups such as the Cocktail Twins or something like that. And it's something that gives a little bit more in the way of a real boost to the overall female-fronted anatomy, to really not use that term, but it is kind of the truth, because it does give a little bit more density, it does give a little bit more dynamisy, and the works that you've seen and heard ever since then have been able to build upon what this group has been able to do. They've been together for a long time, producing a lot of terrific records, probably underneath of your nose. If you think that Rammstein is the only band that released a record entitled Sehnsucht, you are extremely, extremely incorrect. Take a look just a couple years back and you'll find that Lacrimosa did the exact same thing. Number 5, we have Cristina Scabbia from Lacuna Coil. Now, of course, those of you who have seen my reviews recently of Lacuna Coil have noticed that I've not been a very big fan of where their work has gone. But that does not mean that Cristina is not a fantastic, fantastic vocalist. Ever since the start of Lacuna Coil and the start of her career, she's had just this kind of hypnotic grip on a lot of the ears of metal fans worldwide, because she does have a very dynamic voice that is able to do multiple things. And I think one of the best things that actually works for her is whenever she's able to do a little bit of work with Marco, and the two are able to sort of collab together a little bit, and they're able to, really give a little bit more of a density to some of the tracks. It's something that really sparked a bit of a movement that you're seeing a little bit more in music today, though it was not necessarily something that wasn't being done before. It's kind of weird how sparks actually occur. But Christina's voice is radiant, and it shines forth, especially on a lot of Lacuna Coil's earlier work, considering it seems like with those, there's a little bit more density, there's a little bit more layering, there's a little bit more variety that is present, and those are some of the real shine-worthy moments in Christina's vocal career. Still, to this day, you have to give respect to the voice, even if you think that the work has gone a little bit downhill. Number 4, we have Angela Gossow from Arch Enemy. Of course, former Arch Enemy now is handling some of the stuff backstage with them. And this, of course, is based around her uncanny vocal ability. Going after, replacing a male vocalist and really making fooling a lot of people thinking that it was still a male vocalist in the band is not an easy thing to do. However, Angela was able to pull this off, and pull it off very, very well. When Wages of Sin came out, it was this furious charge, and something that was taking the metal world by storm. And whenever they found out that it was a female that was providing these guttural, deep vocals, and really just causing all of this impact with Arch Enemy, the band saw themselves meteorically rise to the top and immediately get on the tongues of metalheads worldwide. Angela was able to continue that with albums such as Doomsday Machine, and really she became the face of this iconic band for many, many years before finally deciding to step away and giving the reins to another. But even with that being said, Angela will always be seen as a brilliant motivator for young girls that are worldwide that want to be in a heavy metal band. You don't have to sing with your clean voice in order to do so. Number 3, we have Tarja from Nightwish, and of course her solo work as well. This one, many people would no doubt think would be number 1, but it's number 3, and I think it's because of the fact that while I really enjoy her voice, I really enjoy her range, her attitude may seem, tit or tat, it's really up to you and what you really feel about that. I just feel the two vocalists are a little bit better in my own personal opinion, but that doesn't deny the fact that Tarja's voice is extremely radiant, one that is able to really bring the most out of any song that she sings. That sort of semi-operatic style that she's able to employ is one thing that helped Nightwish shoot straight to the top, and the minute that they got there, they kept their foot on the accelerator, they did not slow down, and then whenever she left, it was seen as a crushing blow to the band. This was something, though, that Nightwish was able to sort of pick themselves up from with a couple of replacement vocalists, but Tarja still maintains herself as one of the radiant heavy metal vocalists, queens of this generation, one that is constantly referenced, constantly talked about, and constantly revered. Number 2, speaking of Nightwish once again, Floor Jansen. Now, she's higher up on the list here because of her work with After Forever, her work also with Ayreon, her work with ReVamp, and now finally her work with Nightwish, where her career is going to be taking sort of its next step. This dynamic voice is the one that really is able to supplant and go a little bit above and beyond Tarja's in the fact that it does a little bit of everything and is able to do so without being a little bit too over the top. This is instead one that feels very natural and instead uses its driving melody as a real factor and a real way to present songs and present lyricism. Not to mention her electric attitude is one that certainly seems to spark a lot of people, and just, man, look at the workload. She is definitely one that is not willing to slow down and is not going to slow down anytime soon. And that leaves us with number 1, which is Anneke from The Gathering, from Agua, from Ayreon, from the Sirens, from the Devin Townsend Project, from The Gentle Storm. We just heard her last in The Gentle Storm in 2015. Wow, you want to talk about a workload, you want to talk about a long and productive career, not to mention a voice that's able to match just about anything that is out there. Anneke is one that's really been able to perpetuate that. This 43-year-old mistress of metal is certainly one that's really discovered just various sides of what she is all about whenever you consider some of the wide variety of work she has been a part of. Working with The Gathering, this was one that explored more of the progressive and gothic nature of music that had a little bit more of a softness effect to it, but also gave Anneke the ability to show some of her range. But then working with Ayreon and Arjun Anthony Lucasen, working with the Devin Townsend Project, and then working with The Gentle Storm, holy crap, we're talking density, we're talking diversity. Now, while a lot of these still have some progressive elements within all of these projects, you have to really marvel a little bit at what Anneke is able to do for each individual performance to give it that spark that is really necessary to really bring the point across. And that's what makes her my number 1, at least, favorite female heavy metal vocalist, is just the amount of energy, the amount of realism, just the amount of validity that she gives to each and every performance. Everything that she does really feels very emotional, almost as though you have been brought into the mentality, you've been brought into the mindset, the emotional value, the anything that the composition or the lyrical content really needs. You are brought in and you are brought on board. You're along for the ride. It takes a special kind of vocalist to be able to do that, and that's exactly what Anneke is able to pull off with just about every performance that she's a part of. Well, there's our list. If you, once again, have a different list than the one that you just saw presented, please list it in the comments below. If there are folks that you thought were missed, plead your case in the comments below. My name is Cover Killer Nation. We are deep in the heart of 24 hours of CKN. Unless you guys are seeing this in the future, then you missed it, and it was really fun. And I hope that you can come back for the next one, which will be this summer. The only way that you're going to know that it's coming, though, is by hitting the subscribe button, so definitely go and do that now. Cover Killer Nation, thanks again to Fiction for making sure that this list got made over at the Patreon page. If you want to become a patron, follow the link in the description below. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.